It took me a while to find the perfect place to shoot this. This is a beautiful backdrop here in Jamaica. I did want this is our last day here. This is Sunday, Super Bowl's today. A lot going on, as you can hear behind me in the background. I did want to take a couple of minutes and reach out to everybody and let them know about the week that was past. I did a couple of videos this week that should have kept everybody at least in the loop about how I felt. We had some horses that left us this week in Sailor and Procrastinator. We had some horses that raced well. We had some expected horses. Geez, I was on pins and needles last night, especially after Macho Martini's break. Really on pins and needles when it came to how Haunted House was going to race. And then it only led to my concern when it flashes on the screen right before they go on the track. They're not using the slanted gate. So for those of you that don't understand, what they have in Ontario in a lot of places right now is a gate that's slanted. So it's slanted to give the outside horses just a hair of an advantage coming off the wings. And it plays a big role in Ontario. As you can imagine, having the 10 hole with a half a length or 3/4 of a length head start, kind of a big deal, right? That's why you see a lot of the outside horses get away really well in Ontario and not many of the inside horses get away as well. It's because it's tilted to the advantage of the outside horse. So I was concerned. I saw that flash up on the screen. I'm like, come on, man, you're killing me here. I didn't know how he'd race. Obviously the reports I'm getting from James and Harry are reserved because that's how James and Harry are. So Mark, who's sitting beside me now, Mark may have been drinking a little bit, and he was adamant. There was no way Haunted House was going to lose in this race. And that sounds great, but this is also coming from a guy who gave me favorable reviews of the horse to begin with. So Mark, although very confident in how the race would turn out. Obviously, I'm sure it was a little on pins and needles too. And as it turned out, man, what kind of a mile that was. Now, Scott Zeron was with me. He's like, 54, last half 58, but it's the way he did it. Now, I wasn't obviously in Ontario last night. James said that was a very good mile over that track. Now, I don't know whether it was windy or whether the track was just playing dead. But James said that was a very, very good mile. Very glowing report of Haunted House. Said he was on the left line quite a bit more than he'd like to see, but when we got this horse, that was the scouting report on him, was that he steers a bit like a dump truck. If you watch the race from the Meadowlands, he was running in the turns and Mark, and then just with a Murphy blind was running out quite a bit coming out of the turn. But the fact that James was able to kind of sneak him through there, and once he got him settled in that hole, so to speak, he just shot right through and raced really good. So that was exciting because, we all went through this together where nothing's ever perfect. We had this great, grandiose plan for the stable as it comes to what's going to happen moving forward. We're going to send these horses to Ohio and these ones to Megan and these horses over to Tim, and this is what our Woodbine group is going to look like. But then you can throw in a couple of injuries, the fact that we couldn't replace some of those tired horses because there wasn't a Meadowland sale, even that 3-week gap between getting Haunted House and JK Victory, and again, JK Victory's got big shoes to fill also, right? This is one of the most expensive horses we've ever bought, and a horse that was highly regarded by a lot of people I spoke to, in not just in our circle, but in the racing community. Some people that I knew that knew the horse, said that he was a very, very talented horse. So, that doesn't always mean they are, right? People are wrong all the time. I am, you are, everybody is. That's human nature. And hopefully, JK Victory good. We were hoping Haunted House looked good. Now, it's not hard to extrapolate that mile and say, well, that's his first start as a very, very lightly raced 4-year-old, or second start as a very lightly raced 4-year-old, off 2 weeks, out of the 10 hole, 2 moved him. Then if you look, this is a big, big, heavy horse. And halfway down the lane, the plugs are still in. When James found that room and kicked the plugs, for a heavy horse to sprint on the end of it like that, I'm not trying to compare him to a world champion, but that was a good mile, and it showed a lot of grit, and I know that it really impressed James from, the way James is always talking subdued to me. He doesn't want to get too high on the horses, but he was very, very happy with the way Haunted House raced, and I don't think anybody should be unhappy with the way the horse raced. Everything we did, everything we hoped was on display last night, and the horse looked very good. Followed up with our last big-name horse that's still racing in Looks Like Money, who's racing tomorrow, coming off a win in his last start. Things are hopefully starting to come around. And I guess even I catch myself being negative sometimes, or things are coming around. But when you rely on horses that are just okay horses, they can't really let you down. Procrastinator was very disappointing last week, and the week before, and the week before that. when I won one of them, I thought we were well on our way to having a conflict between the horse Haunted House that we were looking to buy in that class and Procrastinator. As it turned out, Procrastinator just didn't find his best stride. Now, as one of our clients pointed out, this horse at pace 51-1, and he'll probably come back to be an okay horse. I see the horse racing well in the future, but we do have to have some here and now also. I can't give a horse off that much time, bring him back, have high hopes, have him win his first start, and then falter. I'm taking in the information from both Sylvain and James, and they're both saying, I don't know what to tell you, he's not very good. I draw his blood, Harry draws his blood. Harry calls me, Anthony, I'll forge his blood, it doesn't look that bad. Mildly elevated muscle count, mildly elevated liver count. And yes, we can look at those counts and cling on to them and say, well, if we get these counts good, the horse will be good. He should have been able to push through. And the fact that he didn't just even gave more strength. Now, if he had went out and jogged with the earplugs in 54 and was claimed, oh man, I might have turned my phone off for a couple of days. I figured now was a good opportunity to try and, drop and pop, as they say, maybe drop him in a little softer. Had a lot of people just say, we'll watch him race for a week. Where's he going? Then win, hopefully not be claimed, move him back into the conditions, and away we go. But as it turned out, he faltered badly and looked quite poor in his last effort. So a horse like him, at least on his current form, should be easy enough to replace. And as I said to my partners out there on Procrastinator, we will claim or buy a horse in the next week or so to replace him. What we're looking for is consistency, and I made it very clear the other day, again, when we sold Sailor, there's a horse that we did sell before the race. We made an agreement. We'll split the purse. We'll race the horse. Afterwards, we'll transfer ownership. And then he went out and jogged. 54-3. You got people saying, I'd rather keep him. Well, yes and no. Right? Yes, fast horse. Yes, look great. But when you look at what he didn't show over and over and over and over again was consistency. And that's what we have to have. I would rather have, as I said the other day, I made it very clear, I would rather have HB Maestro, who seems to be at least putting in a good effort every week. Anytime he's raced a little flat, it's been off 3 weeks. The other day, I think he just bottomed him out a little bit, and he'll give you that gritty feeling and then kind of falter a bit. He's an okay trotter, probably 55, 56. He might get he's been in 54 before, but not one. I don't think he has. I know he's trotted in 54 before, but here's a horse that could get to that point. And as he's getting there every week, consistency. We're putting a team together where consistency has to be one of the pillars. Whether you're a good horse, an okay horse, or even a bad horse, just go out and put in a good effort every week and stay consistent, and we can find a class for you. But if you're erratic, making breaks, having lameness issues, Sailor, every so often quarter crack here, quarter crack there, then he'd come back and he was no good, he was flat, or he'd make a break, or he'd run away. I just don't see him being a consistent horse. If he is, then he wasn't for us. He wasn't for Stacy. He wasn't in Dominic's barn. He showed flashes of a really talented horse. But when there's so few and far between, what does it matter? Speed is not everything. It's nice, and I say, oh my God, you see him race last night? All right, let me watch him race next week. It just never was there, the consistency, and we have to move to a point where we're looking for those HB Maestros that are going to just every week be better and better and better and better and better, and try to continue to move them. And if we get to the point where he's finding it difficult in classes and we don't have a claimer for him, then again we'll move him and look for a rinse and repeat type situation. We have to play the game as it's put to us right now. The game of 10 years ago or 20 years ago is not the game of right now. There wasn't that, is the class going to fill next week, right? You guys know I was very hesitant to bring Macho Martini home because Stay Close was in those mid conditions. I didn't want them tripping over one another. And as it turned out, Macho Martini last night faltered. Do we just go ahead and put him back, take him to Pennsylvania and head him down to Dayton? I don't know. Or Miami Valley, I don't know. There should be a place to find a class for Macho Martini. It just looks like he, made that break coming out of the gate last night, and James kind of blamed himself. He said he was a little hot at the gate and he wanted to leave with him. I tried to leave with him when he made a break out of the 2-hole with me. Macho Martini's the type of horse where he'll let you know before the gate is even close to letting go what he wants to do. A couple of times he let one night for Lauren, he kind of left out of there good, or at least didn't snap from the gate, but going into the turn took off and ended up getting away in a favorable spot. You just can't force him. He's an unforceable horse. And, James started to tell me what he was doing behind the gate, and I'm like, sounds familiar, yeah. I had the 2-hole. I just wanted to try and protect position with him, but I'm on a half-mile track, and from the inside, the gate takes off halfway down the lane, and I was like, I'm just trying to coax him up into position, and he exploded. And it's the same thing James said last night. He said, he just went to go out of there, and I just kind of tapped him, and he just blew up. He's a very frustrating horse in that regard, but knowing that you can't force him into positions going to the gate makes it a little bit easier. If you look, Dave Pallone had him coming back off the gate the couple of times he drove him, and then 4 steps out of the gate, then let him go forward. That's the type of horse that you have to drive him like that. Drive him like a horse that could make a break at any time, and you'll find out he may not make a break for you at all, right? And that's why I believe Lauren got along well with him, because she drove him so guarded. Whereas if you try and force him somewhere, it's going to end badly. But I think the overarching message for Macho Martini is he good enough? And this is what I had said to, my friend Marco that owned the horse with us, and other people, was, I think the horse you believe he is just not, that's not an accurate depiction of who he actually is. He's about a 20 claimer, maybe a 25 claimer, and thinking that he should be better because he was this great 2-year-old does not make it so. I try to judge the horses in the here and the now, and it's very hard for me too. You guys know who's near and dear to my heart in the barn, who's been horrible this year and for quite a while, has been Aldis Patrick. Here's a horse that did nothing but punch the cash register last year. Race after race after race, he just raced so good for us, then he comes back and he's so bad. So I know the feeling. It's not like I'm preaching to you because, you can't do that. I fall in that trap too sometimes. But it's good to step back and understand, okay, just because your memory leads you to believe that this horse is one thing does not make it an accurate depiction of the current form or the current horse in front of us. And when it comes to Macho Martini, just sprinkle on some real-time accuracy, I think, puts us in a better perspective. So trying to find a spot for Macho Martini, we can put him on gate. I can tell you what he'll bring right now, 12, 13,000. And he's worth more than that, quite a bit more than that. So I think it's probably in our best spot to just take a step back and say, okay, where are we going with Macho Martini? It's not like I need to drive him. He made a break on me, and he finished second one day. The place we had the most luck with him is right at the Meadows. Now that we have three more crummy lines on him, I don't know, maybe he fits lower at the Meadows. Maybe we go to the Meadows and he gets up. Poor Tim said, geez, he's going to have a tough time. Send him down and put him in the optional 20 in Miami Valley. That's an option. A horse like this, I'm sure Brett Miller would get along with very, very well. So that's that. I would think in my mind, I hate the shipping idea of it, but I mean, if we do have to ship into the Meadows and there is somebody going back towards, the Miami Valley area, maybe Stacy's racing something next Thursday in the Meadows and we can pick him up there. That's a possibility. Or maybe we just leave him at the Meadows for a couple of starts. I think Mohawk, I tell you guys all the time, I don't like making knee-jerk reactions or rash decisions. But the reality of the situation is, if he doesn't run last night, is he a factor? I don't know. And if that's the case, then we can always put him back in there. My concern, I guess to you, my leading concern right now would be James McDonald's not picking Macho Martini over the 3 that he picked over the other day with him. You can be sure of that. I'm definitely not in Ontario. Ouch. I'm definitely not in Ontario this week. Tuesday afternoon I'm gone. I'm in Ohio straight through till Saturday. So what do we do with him now? Put a new driver on him again and try to explain how to drive Macho Martini before anybody out there says, what about Bob McClure? Probably not, I guess. Cut my finger. What we need to do is just find the proper spot for Macho Martini. And that's nothing to do with Bob. Just Bob, again, I think at the end of it had enough of Macho Martini, and driving him in an unfavorable light is not going to do us any good. Speaking of unfavorable light, looked like a dark shadow. So let's get back to the good news. Haunted House was great last night. Looks Like Money was great the week before, so those are 2 horses that are going right now. JK Victory, they said he's schooled good, but he's on the right line. But he's on the right line in the qualifier, and I spoke to some people that drove him last year. He's been on the right line for his whole life. So let's have a look at him. Get him over to the vet, have him looked at on Monday morning. Stay Close goes over to have the surgeon look at his eye again quickly on Monday. And I have to apologize to a number of people also. Stay Close's bill was a little high last month, because of the work we had to do on his eye. And obviously, that isn't a maintenance charge that is going to reoccur. This is something we're trying to treat with this horse, and it was of the utmost importance. I mean, when you look at it, it's as black and white as save his eye or take it out, and just the sheer gruesomeness of removing this eye, especially when we probably could have saved it. It would be completely unfair to the horse, and certainly not in line with what we're trying to do. So this work had to be done, and again, it's not maintenance that will be repeated, but it was definitely maintenance that was needed. That was needed for Stay Close for sure. So he'll go over with JK Victory, get looked at on Monday. Our hope is to have him in to go next Saturday, but again, that will be up to Harry. Harry wants to make sure nobody wants to have poor outing. So Harry will do what he needs to make sure the horse is ready to go for his first start for us. Per Lucky continues to race good. And what I was happy with the other day, they canceled the races obviously, so we didn't get to see Dustin Hanover race. But I spoke to James briefly this morning, just talking about the babies and some of the other horses, and I said, you made a mistake the other day. Dustin Hanover's way better than the horses in that class. And he said, well, I like that horse. I said, I'm not going to try and sway you. I did on LD's Patrick. I know it cost you money. I apologize. But when it comes to Dustin Hanover, I think he was sitting on a 55 mile. Dominic took him down and schooled him the other day. Said he was running out a bit in the straightaways, which he'll do. I'll ask Dominic to have the vet go over him on Monday also. I don't think there's anything serious. I don't think we did any vet work on Dustin Hanover, knowing he's a trotter. Lower hocks, maybe his back's a little tight. But overall, I think the horse has been exceptionally good. So I just told James, listen, he didn't school him the other day. Austin Sorey schooled him the other day. But as I said to James, you might want to give him a second look. I'm not going to tell you, you should do this, because that would be unfair to you. But I am going to tell you that I think Dustin Hanover is much better than your run-of-the-mill average nominals of 2. Yes, he shows 6 and 58, but watch the race. I never got an inch of room. Watch the race where I won with him in 57 and 1. Watch the race where he was 4 wide down the backstretch and all the way around the last turn and ended up 4th, closing again in 59. The horse is a nice horse. You do what you want. So hopefully we get another crack at James driving this horse this week, and that's not a dig at all at Jody or anybody for driving him. This is a James type of horse. I think James will love Dustin Hanover, and I'd like to see him drive him. So, and that touches on, as I said, Dominic talking about the horse. I had a couple of people messaging me, geez, Dominic, where's Mario? He's got nothing racing. Dominic's had a slow start to the year. The horses aren't up and going, right? Dominic has the bulk of our stronger sophomores coming back, right? That's where Carter Michael Dio is. That's where Crantini is going to be, at least until we figure out where he's going to go later on. Is he going to race a couple of times in Ontario? Or are we going to send him right down to the States? I don't know yet. I talked to Scott and Megan quite extensively about that down here. Megan is a 2% owner in Crantini now, so she has a vested interest in what's going on with him, and just so happy. I keep telling her, I told everybody, I just want to go with him. So he's been on the walker all week, just jogging on the Equicizer. And next week he'll spend a lot of time in the pool a little bit and on the Equicizer also. I just want every day is a new day for this horse, and I want him to step out of the barn with the right frame of mind about his work. And I think there's a real good horse in there, and I'm not going to take one day, not 1 hour for granted with this animal. So. And that's not a dig on anyone else that works for us or comes in or helps out. It's just a simple fact where if this horse falters, it is 100% on Anthony McDonald. There's going to be no, well, he trained bad that time and I wish we had done this. There'll be no wish-wees this year. It's going to be done the best I can do it until we send the horse away. And at that point, whatever happens, you can blame me. But when it comes to Crantini, I think we all can agree there's a horse that made a lot of money but left a lot on the table. And I think what we're going to have is a horse with a ton of ability in the right frame of mind heading into his sophomore season, and that's what I'm trying to do. His last trip on the track, I went with him. I turned him and went a slow mile, just a slow mile. But the fact that he did it perfectly was impressive. Now, was that a one-off? Was he just tired that week because of the work I put into him? He said, all right, fine. And now when we have him fresh, he's going to go back to trying to leap and frig around. I hope not. I hope that this was a step forward, and I hope his memory. I hope his memory is as good as his talent, because if it is, we could have a really nice horse. And I just feel that there's lots of time, there's no rush, and I want to make sure we get this right. And with him, he is a little bit of a special project. He is a horse that has had his shortcomings as a 2-year-old, and I want to chip away at them each and every time I go on the track with him. So Crantini, I'm going to go with on Tuesday. He's been on the walker. I'm going to go out and go. I might go slow mile with him again on Tuesday. I don't know, but I want him to understand that there's a right way and a wrong way, and the wrong way won't be tolerated. And I think that's the best way forward for Crantini. So I'm excited to see how he is his next time on the track, because his last time on the track was one of his better efforts going on the track. And this has nothing to do with racing and everything to do with your approach to your daily work. So I'm eager to see how he's going to be. But in regards to Dominic and Mario, we've put a lot of the sophomores that are training back in the barn. Mario's got Renegade Gypsy coming back. I know there was a little miscommunication the other day. Cash Deals was supposed to qualify, and then I tuned in and the horse was scratched. But I didn't check my messages, and Mario had sent me a message, said the weather was bad and a couple of our caretakers didn't show up. If it's all right, I think I'll just train her here at the track. He told me he trained her in 2-1 at Stutzman's, and that she's ready to go. So that's fine. That's on me. That's my fault. And then when I look at what's coming up, right, we have all these horses not all these horses, some horses in the here and the now. The Haunted House was great last night. JK Victory hopefully will be good. Looks like money continues to move forward cautiously. We're watching him very, very closely. Per Lucky has been very good. A winner the other day, drew the 8-hole this week at Northfield Park, but hopefully we can have some good luck there. And again, Dustin Hanover, I'm excited to see him race his next start. Yes, we moved Procrastinator and Sailor. Macho Martini's got some work to do, but at the end of the day, that core lineup, and then you factor in Stumber Giacatti, a little flat the other day, but he's been better. He's in to go at Northfield Park this week. I'm going to get another look at him. I'm going to drive him from the rail. HB Maestro hopefully will be in Thursday at the Meadows, so hopefully we get another better effort out of him. And I think it certainly wasn't Hunter's fault. It looked to me like he was very fresh on the front end and then just kind of softened when they come out of the turn. I'm going to try and keep him covered up next week. I find he's better covered up, but he's so handy it's hard not to put him near the front end. So we'll see how HP Maestro, again, him racing. Sister Solange is close to being back. They trained her in 2 minutes and then scoped her after just to make sure everything was okay, and they found an ulcer on her palate and an entrapment, so they fixed that the next day. She won't be ready to qualify Wednesday. Actually, I'm going to talk to Mike about qualifying her Wednesday, because there are those series in the Meadows, and there is the series in Miami Valley also, the Non-Winners of 2 series. Whichever one fits her the best is the one we'll probably look towards heading into the first part of the spring, the end of the winter. It's hard to believe, The winter has gone by so fast. We're talking about the end of the winter and the start of the spring coming up. I just can't. It's hard to grasp that, isn't it? And then, of course, we have our horses on their way back. Now, as I said to Greg, one of my partners last night, I said, we just got to hang tight. 3-4 weeks, we have Renegade Gypsy, Resolute Bay coming back. We have White Tiger, Locatelli coming back. And then it won't be far after them. We'll have Carter Michael Dio, Spitfire Overseas, Brace for Landing, Landing Strip, Landing Pad. A number of horses that are getting ready to go. And then I think a little bit after then, closer to the end of April, I think you'll see Crantini emerge. And that is also an exciting part of the year. We have a number of horses that are training down very, very good in Ohio that I'm going to train this week and start to get ready for their sophomore campaigns also. So it's a super exciting time of the year. Not quite as exciting as when the babies qualify in June, but absolutely exciting in the sense that a lot of these sophomores are starting to look sharp. Horse that I'm watching very closely is Brace for Landing. We talked about last year how he was mentally and physically just immature. He was. The entire time training down, the entire time he got to the races, every time we spoke about him, it was his immaturity. Will he mature? Man, the horse I've seen on the track of late at First Line, he looks so much calmer, smarter, his understanding of the surroundings, not doing goofy, stupid things, just understanding, focusing. And these are exciting things to see from this horse, because it's easy to forget because we just move so fast in this industry and in this stable. But Brace for Landing was our most expensive horse up until this year, a horse that we had a lot of hopes for, and some people forgot about those hopes. But he didn't let me down, that horse, last year. It's not like you say, he didn't do a whole lot. He wasn't expected to. And I had to preach this, you guys know that there's a core group of people that I talk to on a regular basis, people that have become close friends of mine. And, I know Steve had said, I just don't know if he's shown enough. He did everything that I asked him to do last year. And you have to take that with the understanding that we knew the entire year he was going to be immature. Now he isn't. Now we're going to get to see the best brace for landing. You look at his breeding, his ability, his speed, his stamina, how he's raced, his gait, then factor in that focus and that willingness to compete, and hopefully a hunger to compete. We could be looking at the horse that we hoped we had last year, right? And I think that's where we're at with some of these horses too. How's Carter Michael Deal going to come back? How's Crantini going to come back? How's Spitfire going to come back? Those are all about, nothing but a dreamer. We don't talk nearly enough about him. He looks like a beast on the track. Horse looks like a monster. Just so many things going on at the same time. And I'll tell you what, we had this little lull, we didn't have enough horses racing and things were a little slow the last couple of weeks. But it's going to be like a tidal wave come mid-March, and it's going to be a really exciting time of the year for us come mid-March. So that's what I'm looking for. I hope that's what you're looking for also. Hopefully we can fill in the gaps here with a couple of more quality starts from Hunted House and get JK Victory going. Maybe keep Looks Like Money going for a little while also, and then see how Perlucky ends up and what happens with Dustin Hanover. Still a lot of really positive question marks coming up and a lot of things that we want to see happen, and hopefully we see happen in the coming weeks. But it's been a great week. As you can see behind me, the weather's beautiful. It's been like this every single day here. I joked about it last week, but maybe it wasn't a joke. I would love to see, I would like to go away on a trip with as many of us, our clients, as we can. I enjoy hanging around the people that play such a major role in our lives. There's been nothing better than hang around with my family and my friends here this week. And many of you know, made so many friends myself from thestable.ca. So maybe in the future it is something we can do. Who knows? That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, it's a talk for another day. I hope you guys had a great week, regardless if it was just a cold but okay week or whether it was nice in Florida or wherever you may live. I hope you had a wonderful week with your family also. I know I did. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Take care. We'll talk to you all very soon. Still got some videos to go. We get the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and racehorses coming up.